You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Naruto Enters Gargoyles? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. I feel like an idiot, Naruto said in a thick black combat leather jacket, orange shirt, and dark navy blue pants. He was currently drinking coffee with Alisa in his human form in the middle of the day. Be glad I can swch this with my armor, he said to her as he had the ability to store things on his person for later use and could swch things like articles of clothing. You look fine, Alisa said to him simply as it was her day off and she was showing Naruto around. Gotta ask, what's it like being stoned? She asked curiously. It's like sleeping, Naruto said to her as it barely felt like any time went by when waking up. Alisa nodded as she listened and she had to admit Naruto now fit into the world perfectly with how he adapted. Can I ask how it's going with the others? She asked, wondering how they were. Watching TV like idiots, Naruto said to her as they quickly got absorbed in the hype that was television. That's about sums up everyone. I and the world, Alisa said as she liked TV as much as anyone but did it in moderation and enjoyed to read. So what do they watch? She asked curiously, starting conversation. The Pack, Naruto said as it was an interesting show to watch on occasion. Oh, most if not all of those stunts are real, Alisa said to him simply. Impressive, Naruto said as the moves that they pulled were impressive to behold. There have been lawsuits about them in the past though, Alisa said as she did see on the news that they were very aggressive at certain events and appearances. One of them gives me a real bad vibe, Naruto said as he got a sense of déjà vu with one of them. Just don't let the others get too influenced by that show, Alisa said as many children had been influenced to do dumb and stupid things and this time could still be a little overwhelming to the others. I'll try my best, Naruto said to her as his brothers were thick-headed on the best of days. Few hours later. You know something, I had my misgivings but something is up, Naruto said to Owen. Oh, and what is causing you issues, Mr. Wyvern? Owen said to him simply. Xanatos hasn't ordered you to kill us, Naruto said to him simply. You could have with your guns easily, even with how skilled I am you could have swarmed this place during the day when I'm human, he said to him as he hadn't been sleeping at all, letting as he was afraid Xanatos would have them killed. Xanatos is studying us, isn't he said to him. Even if I was allowed to answer you, you know I couldn't answer, Owen said to him walking away. You know a lie or an answer can be found in certain responses, like when someone dodges a question or refuses to answer, shows fear or shamelessness or just not wanting to give others the satisfaction. Thanks for the response, Naruto said as he walked away. Owen had to admit that was impressive and well thought out way of getting answers. Later at night. Naruto was worried about Lexington as he and his father were fighting and he had to agree that both were right and wrong on their points as they needed allies and more people to interact with, but they needed to be careful of who they trusted and how much trust they gave. That mistake had cost them their clan and their home. So, how is it going with the beasts? Brooklyn asked curiously. It's a work in progress. I can't hate them forever but, it's hard to forgive, Naruto said as he wanted to forgive them but knowing what they kept from him was hard. Yeah, well we're going to watch The Pack, wanna come? Lexington asked curiously. I'm getting sick of that show. For the past week it's been the only thing on the TV, Naruto said as he liked quality and The Pack didn't really seem like true warriors. He didn't doubt their prowess but didn't think they had the best motives and intentions. It's not that bad, Broadway said to him, not catching his meaning. Alisa told me this. Don't believe everything you see on TV, Naruto said. Why not? Brooklyn asked curiously. Not everything you see on it is real, Naruto said as that was a universal truth. Few hours later. Naruto was enjoying a book as he sat on one of the columns when he saw the trio getting ready to take off. "And where do you think you're going?" he asked. "We're going to see the pack's live performance," Broadway said to him. "Don't be seen," Naruto said, simply knowing he couldn't talk them out of it. "Yeah, we know," Brooklyn said as the trio took off. "I got bad feeling in my gut," Shikaku said. "Sure, it's not a stomachache from all those hot dogs," Kokuo said as he stole hot dogs from a cart and they smelled old. "Trust in my gut, it saved us countless times," Shikaku said as he put his hands on his belly, making it seem bigger. Naruto silently agreed as he felt something bad was going to happen. Next morning. "Oh God," Naruto said as he looked at his father and Lexington glare at one another as they were stone. "Time to do some research," he thought to himself. "That's one way to avoid an argument," Alisa said as she checked in on them. "You have no idea," Naruto said as he did the same with his mother at times. "Wanna do some investigating?" he asked her curiously. "Why not?" Alisa said as she had to admit Naruto could have been a great investigator as he seemed to have the mentality of a cop. 1 hour later. "You know you can bring them in and I'm sure you won't get sued," Naruto said as they watched the pack eating at a bar and grill, some of them eating meat on the rare side, also tripping over a waiter, scaring off, and a few nearby people. "Listen, unless they directly assault someone I can't do jack. TV stars have many lawyers," Alisa said as unless she saw them attack someone in broad daylight there was little she could bring them in for. "And knowing Mr. Ponytail, those lawyers would be the best," Naruto said. "What?" Alisa said in surprise. "Xanatos is funding their TV show. I watched an episode and saw it on the end credits," Naruto said to her as it was a one-time thing, but when he saw Xanatos' logo and company name he became weary. "Why would Xanatos make them?" Alisa asked as the man always had an angle in her opinion, either for himself or to his personal advantage. "Maybe the pack is meant to be more than TV stars, maybe he has bigger plans for them," Naruto said as maybe Xanatos had something special like he did with his robotic versions of his father. "Like I said, all their stunts are real," Alisa said as she wondered how they got so good. Naruto had to admit he had a funny feeling about one of them as he seemed familiar, and to add insult to injury he noticed that they were spotted by a woman with a blue fox tattoo over her eye. "I'm gonna go get some coffee, be back in a few minutes," he said to Alisa. Few minutes later. "Have to admit I'm impressed," Naruto said in an alley as he stood there. "You can come down, I know you're there," he said looking upward as the woman jumped down from a tall building, skillfully landing. "You must be Naruto," the woman said with a smirk. "And you must be Fox, from one fox to another. I gotta say you're kinda good," Naruto said. "I appreciate the compliment," Fox said to him, "and you certainly are more than you seem," she said, holding a picture of him human and another as a gargoyle. "What's the game?" Naruto asked as she was here to clearly lay down the stakes and what the challenge was going to be. "Don't beat around the bush, do you?" Fox said, smiling, liking that attitude. "I know Xanatos made your pack. What for?" "To see how they stack against the best." Naruto asked her, wondering if this was about him or his family. "More like to see who is at the top of the food chain," Fox said as she appreciated it when things were of a fair nature and that the prey had skill of its own, never liking taking down wounded or easy prey. "Humph, I may be a fox but I'm also like a dragon, I eat whatever tries coming at me," Naruto said to her simply. "Are you saying we're your prey?" Fox said, smiling even more. "Hurt my family and you will be," Naruto said as he walked away. Fox had to admit Xanatos wasn't wrong about him. He'll be a truly worthy adversary, she thought to herself as she saw the look in his eyes, the look of a warrior but also the look of a beast. Back with Alisa. "Where'd you go?" Alisa asked, seeing him exit the alley. "To get coffee," Naruto said as he did in fact get coffee. "The terms have been set," he said to her simply. "And they are?" Alisa asked, wondering what the game Xanatos was playing. "To establish who is the hunter and who is the prey," Naruto said to her. "We got hours to kill till sunset," Alisa said as it was the afternoon. "Are you asking me on a date?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow and smirk. "Oh, like you have anything better to do," Alisa said as she grabbed his arm. True, Naruto said, as when not patrolling the city he spent his free time in the library with his dad or spared with his mother or on the rare occasion watched TV. So what do you want to do? He asked curiously. I think it's about time to show you a movie, Alisa said. What is a movie? Naruto asked. Think TV but bigger and longer and popcorn, Alisa said to him with a chuckle, being confused at popcorn. Corn that pops. Naruto said, confused. That confused face is adorable, Alisa said with a smile. 3 hours later. It was exactly how you described. Still prefer books though, Naruto said to her as he liked the movie very much. A lot of stories for movies are from books, Alisa said to him. Then people need to make them better, Naruto said to her. Yeah, it's more misses than hits a lot of times, Alisa said, as movies and books varied on many areas and differed. Anything else you want to do? Naruto asked her. Well, what did you do for fun back in medieval times? Alisa asked, wondering what he'd like to do. Mostly drank with my rookery uncles and aunts to see who'd drop. Mother and father didn't exactly like that, Naruto said, chuckling, remembering when he smelled like brewery and his mother beat so many of his uncles it was a nightmare. Well, I know this little diner, best cherry pie around, Alisa said. They still have pies? Naruto asked with a smile. Yep, come on, Alisa said as she dragged Naruto off. 2 hours later. Can you not get drunk? Alisa asked as she drank 3 pints and he was on his 12th. Gargoyle metabolism is twice that of a human. I can drink and hardly get a buzz, Naruto said. That must suck, Alisa said as she liked to have a good buzz on occasion, rarely ever getting hammered. You have no idea, Naruto said as he rarely saw the point to drinking besides liking the taste of certain drinks. Probably need something stronger then, Alisa said, as there were stronger drinks in the world. Any stronger and people would die from poisoning, Naruto said as he had read up and had seen the improvements of alcohol. Dang, well, did they have jalapenos back then? Alisa asked. Hala what? Naruto asked. Here, Alisa said as she gave him a pepper which he instantly ate. Ha, hot. Naruto said as that was spicy. I was about to say be careful, Alisa said as she handed him some water. Besides my mouth catching on fire, that was delicious, Naruto said with a chuckle. How do you eat those without writhing in heat pain? He asked curiously. I love jalapenos, Alisa said as they were some of her favorite things to eat. Well, besides the heat, it was good, Naruto said as he liked the taste. Say, weren't you gonna go with Goliath and Lex to meet the pack? Alisa asked curiously. SHT, I'm late, Naruto said as he saw the time. Sorry, I was having too much fun, Alisa said to him. No problem, I just hope they're okay, Naruto said to her, giving her a smile. Half an hour later. Naruto was flying towards the pack studio when he heard explosions. CRP, he said, realizing he was too late. He landed on a rooftop and saw that Goliath and Lexington were down and the pack was closing in on them. Time to finish this, Fox said, only to be blindsided by Naruto. Let's even up the odds, Naruto said. This'll be fun, Fox said, picking herself up. I couldn't agree more, sweetheart, Naruto said. About time, Lexington said as he shook the rubble off of him. What took you? Goliath asked as he got IP. Sorry, I got caught up on a date with Alisa, Naruto said. Oh, and I had to get mother, he said as Demona swooped in, tackling Fox. Finally, big game, Wolf said with a smile. More like top dog, Naruto said as he changed back to normal. Let's make this even, he said challengingly. Let's go, little man. Wolf shouted as he rushed at Naruto, both raising their fists, slamming them into the other's cheeks with boy men grinning. Wolf kneed Naruto in the stomach, causing him to growl in pain before slamming a headbutt on the burly pack member's head. Come on, Pops, this is fighting, not patty cake, step it up, Naruto said, wanting his a game. Yeah, guess playtime is over. Wolf said, grabbing Naruto and flung him to the ground. Naruto chuckled as he thrusted his fist forward into Wolf's stomach. Wolf hunched over, groaning, coughing slightly. See, it doesn't matter how many hits you land in the right spot and anyone can go down easy, Naruto said as he kicked Wolf in the head sending him flying into some trash cans. Alright, who wants some? He asked the rest of the pack. Oh, I like you, Hyena said having a glint in her eye and a bloodthirsty look. Too bad you're not my type, but I know a raccoon dog you might like, Naruto said with a chuckle. Hyena charged in and swiped at him only for him to sidestep dodging her attacks before he grabbed her by her arm and threw her in the air with a hip toss making her groan as her back hit the pavement. You wanna avenge your sister, try not to be so predictable, Naruto said as he did a backflip and stomped on Jackal's back slamming him into the pavement. Demona was facing off with Fox, both women eyeing the other for a clear opening to attack as they circled around each other. So you're the big bad female gargoyle I've been told about. Gotta say I respect any woman who can keep men in line. Fox said smirking. I can say the same about you. Demona said before she picked up a familiar scent coming from Fox's body. You smell like Sonatos. Are you and he? She said, seeing Fox's smirking face was all the answer she needed before the red-haired woman kicked at her, countering with one of her own. Fox punched at Demona, who caught her fist only to flip over Fox's shoulder. A woman doesn't go bragging about her love life, Fox said simply. Demona chuckled. You're right about that, she said before tackling Fox. Naruto looked down at Jackal before raising an arm to catch one of Dingo's boomerangs before looking at the Australian before crushing the boomerang in his hand. You need better material, mate, he said with a grin as he said in an Australian accent, pissing him off. Dingo shouted as he charged at Naruto, who leaned to the left dodging a punch before giving him an uppercut sending him flying. I still think you should have faced them as a gargoyle, Demona said to him. I know, but they would have gone down with one finger, where's the sport in that? Naruto said to her. Demona chuckled as she had to admit she made the perfect warrior with Naruto always taking risks, seeking challenges, and was ready to face them. Fox groaned as she looked up at them. So who's the prey now? Naruto asked as he squatted down to her level. Fox's head just dropped as she lost consciousness. Why are we outside a photo place? Naruto asked as he looked inside the building they were at and saw what looked like a photo op was set up. Never mind, they are down, we must go, Goliath said as he could hear police cars coming. Few minutes later. Hey brother, Naruto said as he sat next to Lexington and saw the look on his face, one of rage. I understand the feeling of betrayal, I know how you feel, but you can't let it consume you your entire life or let it restrict you from accepting others. Take this as a learning opportunity that trust is something that must be given from both ends, he said as they sat in silence waiting for the sun. Goliath was perched nearby and was proud of his son looking out for his family, helping Lexington with his anger. He couldn't have been more proud. Few days later. Naruto decided to take a walk as he rarely did that nowadays, and as he walked he was then tackled to the ground and looked up behind him seeing his now robotic uncle. You've become weak, nephew, being with that human, Cold Steel said to him tauntingly and was then sent flying back as Naruto transformed. Give me a reason why I shouldn't kill you, Naruto said as he approached him. Forget it, I don't need a reason, but maybe I should tear your goddamn head off, he said in anger. We have been over this, I cannot die, Cold Steel said as he got up. No head no body, Naruto said to him. I still have my flesh, this metal is on the outside not in, Cold Steel said to him. Oh, you have a heart, then let me correct myself, I will tear it out instead of your head. As fun as that would be, I have places to go, people to see. Later, Cold Steel said as he dropped a canister that made a bright light blinding Naruto. Only person I hope you see is the Grim Reaper, Naruto said as he rubbed his eyes. And I hope you see the error of your ways, Cold Steel said as he flew off. Naruto huffed as he took to the skies, rubbing his eyes as they still stung from the flash. 2 hours later. Naruto landed on the castle and saw Lexington and Broadway but no Brooklyn. Where's Brooklyn at? He asked. Riding the motorcycle I made, Lexington said. Oh, wait, what? Naruto asked curiously, only for him to return seeing he was a little heated. So fellow Hog Rider, how'd it go? He asked, trying to relieve some tension. Please leave me alone, Brooklyn said. If you want tips I can help, Alisa helped me get my motorcycle license, Naruto said trying to calm his brother down. Brooklyn just kept walking. I thought you had a car, Broadway asked curiously as he scratched his head. I got both, Naruto said as he had time to kill. He seemed mad, Lexington said. Let's give him room to chill, Naruto said as he seemed like he needed some space. The next day. Naruto was enjoying his book when suddenly Isabu rolled into the room on his back. Little help? Isabu asked curiously as he tried to flip himself back over. What's the rush? Naruto asked as he picked him up. The Grimoire, it's missing. Isabu said to him. What? Naruto said in surprise. Hey Naruto, you seen Brooklyn? I can't find him anywhere, Broadway said. Brooklyn he wouldn't, Naruto said as with the sudden appearance of his uncle he had a bad feeling about this. 1 hour later. Naruto sat with his father as the two looked at the city before seeing Brooklyn fly up to them. I found this amazing place, it reminds me of our time, you gotta come see it, it's called the Cloisters, Brooklyn said to him. Sounds fascinating, Goliath said to him. Naruto would have said something as he heard metal footsteps move, he said as he pushed his father as he was hit by a green blast. What are you doing? Brooklyn asked Cold Steel. Fixing my nephew. I must say you are predictable my boy, Cold Steel said the last part to Naruto. Cold Steel, Goliath said roaring in anger. You said you'd help him see the truth, Brooklyn said. And he will. Naruto, humans are our enemies, Cold Steel said with a wicked grin. Humans are our enemies, Naruto said in an almost robotic monotone voice as his eyes were completely green. No, I wanted to free his mind not enslave it, Brooklyn said. You wanted him to see the truth, this was the only way, Cold Steel said. Son, Goliath said in sadness before looking at his former brother. He can't hear you, he's mine, take him, Cold Steel said to Naruto. Naruto looked at Goliath before backhanding him sending him flying. Ooh, home run hit, Cold Steel said laughing. You tricked me. Brooklyn said in rage. Kid, that's my favorite thing to do, Cold Steel said as he chuckled. Snap out of it. Brooklyn said only to get tossed by Naruto. It's futile Brooklyn, as long as I hold the book he is mine, Cold Steel said to him. Then I'll have to rip it from you taking hands with it, Goliath said showing his rage. You're welcome to try, Cold Steel said as he got tackled from behind by Demona. Naruto, get her off me, he yelled. You will pay dearly for what you did to my son, all the pain you have felt will pale to the pain I will deliver, Demona said, her eyes glowing the most brightest and furious shade of red. Naruto charged, changing into his gargoyle form as he smacked Demona off of Cold Steel. Brooklyn charged and tackled Cold Steel before getting kicked off. Finish him. Cold Steel said, but Naruto did nothing. I hold the book, you must do as I say, he said in anger. You may hold the book but I hold the spell, Brooklyn said with a smirk. Naruto, take him, he said to his friend, hating he had to command him. Naruto roared as he charged, tackling Cold Steel down before getting kicked off. Cold Steel tore some pages from the Grimoire before flying off. Oh brother, what have I done, Brooklyn said to Naruto sadly. 30 minutes later. Is he gonna be like this forever? Demona asked as she had a tear come down her face. I looked over the book, there was no counterspell, Brooklyn said as he looked through the book. Wait, we don't fight the spell, we use it, Alisa said as she took the page. Okay Naruto, I hold the spell. I order you to live out the rest of your days as if you were not under the effect of a spell, she said to him as his eyes returned to normal. As everyone celebrated, Demona had a small look of concern as certain spells had limits both based on power and on the user it was cast on. She knew Naruto, and the fact he didn't break the spell on her own worried her as it meant Cold Steel was now more powerful, and with his intentions that was a scary thing. Get stronger Naruto, she thought looking at her son, because I believe you are the only one capable of taking him down, she thought to herself. I knew a race that has you as a member couldn't be all bad, Brooklyn said as he was very appreciative of her. Thanks, Alisa said, not knowing how exactly to respond. Naruto, I'm sorry everything he said, it sounded so, Brooklyn said looking down in shame. I know I could hear you all but couldn't do anything. His view of humanity is a half-truth he's embraced thoroughly, Naruto said. One he made me see for a long time. Demona said. I'm surprised you didn't break free of it, Lexington said. I almost did, then Alisa did her thing, Naruto said with a chuckle. Wait, are you saying that you were literally just about to break free? Broadway asked in surprise. Yeah, thanks all the same, Naruto said as he grinned and rubbed the back of his head. Demona felt relief hearing that, as it meant there wasn't a wide gap between her son and her brother. 2 weeks later. Well, this is a surprise, Zenado said to Naruto, a bullet-proof screen between them. I don't want to have to be here any longer than I have to, Naruto said to him simply. What's wrong? Need to know how a credit card works. Zenado said teasingly. A shipment of your weapons just got stolen and are on the streets, Naruto said to him simply, seeing no change in Zenado's expression. And? Zenado said calmly. Who would want to tick you off and why? Naruto asked, knowing there had to be a motive. A lot of people don't like me, Zenado said simply. Me among them, Naruto said to him. But if you want to try people, try Tony Draken, Zenado said, pointing him in a certain direction. Never heard of him, Naruto said to him. He's a criminal, ask your cop friend. The two have a bit of a history together. Draken would love nothing more than see Maza pushing up daisies, Zenado said to him. Naruto lightly squeezed the table, denting it. Careful, don't want any slips, Zenado said as Naruto got up. Wait, he said, making Naruto stand still, not looking back. Owen has some papers for you, he said to him. For me? What for? Naruto asked. Easy Police Academy records, Zenado said, confusing Naruto, making him sit back down. Okay, I'll bite. What do you want? Naruto said, wondering what the motive was. Maybe I'm playing Cupid, or maybe I'm just waiting for something. Fox and Owen told me some information that you and the detective have gotten close, Zenado said to him. I don't know what game you're playing, but mess with her or my friends and family and you will wish Bronx got his fangs on you, Naruto said to him. Life can be lonely without a partner, and honestly I think you need this, Zenado said with a neutral look. I don't need your charity, but thanks, Naruto said as he walked away. Outside the prison. What he tell you? Alisa asked Naruto, as Zenado's was more likely to see him than her. He told me to look in the direction of a Tony Draken, Naruto said simply. Oh, and apparently I'm a cop, he said to her simply. Wait, what? You don't even know how to operate a gun, Alisa said in surprise. Thank Owen for making the paperwork, Naruto said, wondering how the man was so skilled. But why? Alisa asked. For some reason, he probably wants you to have protection. He said this thing with you and Draken was kinda unhealthy in a way, Naruto said to her. I've been trying to put Draken behind bars for a long time, Naruto, Alisa said as she hated the man with a passion. Is he that bad? Naruto asked, wanting some details. Worse, Alisa said to him. Wanna pay him a visit, she said with a smirk. Well, I was thinking of going to your boss to make this official, but okay, Naruto said as he liked to mess with his enemies. Half an hour later. Ugh, you could have mentioned this guy's cologne, Naruto said as he and Alisa were standing inside a hotel's lobby on some steps when the man in question walked down with some associates of his. Naruto could smell the cologne he was wearing, and it was a little too strong for his sense of smell as it smelled old and crappy. Alisa Maza conducting another pointless investigation, Draken said with a superior grin. I'm here concerning a stolen weapons shipment, Alisa said. We had nothing to do with that, Draken said with a smirk along with the rest of them. Got an alibi? Alisa asked. Me and my friends here were hitting the town, Draken said. Let me guess, you were all together with each other and no women. Wow, you must be confident or unashamed that you and your friends enjoy each other's company so much, Naruto said suggestively. Alisa covered her mouth to muffle a laugh before clearing her throat to get serious again. Draken had a calm look and wanted to give him a strong glare, but the man next to him shook his head silently, telling him it wasn't worth it. As Draken and his men walked past, Naruto gagged as he backed up, getting a really strong whiff of their cologne. One of these days you'll slip up, Draken, and I'm gonna be there, Alisa said sternly. I swear they might actually be screwing each other, Naruto said to her as his nose cringed. They all use that crappy cologne, he said, making her smile. Was it really that bad? Alisa asked. Like gargoyle mead gone bad mixed with boar urine, Naruto said as he greedily took in the unfiltered air. Outside in the limo. Hey glasses, take out Maza, Draken said to his right-hand man. You sure? Glasses asked, as it was a big move as that particular detective was well known and liked and was investigating them. It's about time she learned not to meddle in my business, make it look like an accident, Draken said to him. Later that day. You know ISCK at this cooking thing, right? Naruto said with Alisa in her apartment making dinner. Yeah, I can tell. Alisa said as we was just about to burn the pork chop he was cooking. You make all this seem so easy, Naruto said before shuddering as he looked down and saw a gray cat rubbing herself against his leg. Kagni likes you, Alisa said as her cat was a bit temperamental with who touched her. All animals like me, Naruto said as he attracted all sorts of animals. Never got rubbed by a cat before, Alisa asked. Only cat I've been around is the one with the flaming body, Naruto said as that was the truth. Dogs? Alisa asked as she didn't dislike the animal as she got along with Bronx swimmingly. Oh, we had a lot of hounds in the castle, Naruto said as he picked Kagni up and rubbed her body. She's vibrating, he said as he looked at Kagni. Humph, it's called purring. Alisa said with a small laugh. Naruto was soon alerted as he heard the sound of a small amount of glass cracked, and when he looked at the window he saw a hole. Naruto, Alisa said softly as she clutched her stomach and a large red wet spot appeared. Time seemed to slow as he turned around and saw Alisa drop to the ground with a bullet wound. No. No, 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 he said as he turned the stove off. Alisa, Alisa, he shouted as he clutched the wound. Hospital, he said, picking her up bridal style, and went to the balcony and turned into a gargoyle and glided on the fastest wind current he could feel. Few minutes later. I need some help. Naruto said, now human, running inside the hospital. The doctors began clutching the wound and asking him questions. She's lost a lot of BLD, Naruto said as he tried to stay calm and not have a panic attack as he had her BLD literally on his hands, and that frightened him as this was the BLD of a friend. She has a rare BLD type. Are you a match? The doctor said, asking his BLD type, and when he heard he was a compatible match, will you give her BLD? He asked Naruto, who nodded. We need to do a BLD transfusion stat, he said, calling a nurse. Naruto rolled his sleeve up. Take as much as you need, he said as when he looked over Alisa's police record he found her and his BLD matched. 1 hour later. You know, it's funny, Naruto said to Alisa, who was still unconscious. Back in my time, sharing BLD was a sacred thing. It was meant for binding others, to make oaths, and all that, he said with a chuckle as she really affected him, adjusting him to this new time. He moved a strand of hair from her face, watching as she slept soundly. The only sound filling the room was the monitor beeping to show her heart was beating. If only I was faster, if only, Naruto said, growling as he held her hand. Don't stop fighting, Alisa, come back to me. I vow to find the man who did this, and I will make him pay, he said as his eyes flashed white. The door opened, making him quickly reel in his anger, and he saw Alisa's family, her father Peter, mother Diane, and her brother Derek. Among them was the police chief Maria Chavez. I heard you gave my daughter BLD. Thank you, Peter said in gratitude. Yeah, I was there when I just had to do something, Naruto said sadly, not wanting to be angry in front of Alisa's family. So you're the Naruto my sister never shuts up about, Derek said, joking, trying to relieve some tension. I know you're still recovering, but do you have anything useful? Maria asked him. It was a sniper, a pro. I couldn't hear a gun go off, so he must have used a suppressor, Naruto said to her. Any ideas who? Peter asked. Draken seemed kinda upset that Alisa was so determined to get him. Wouldn't surprise me if he did it himself, Naruto said angrily. I removed the bullet from the base of her spine. The first hours of treatment have gotten her past a crisis point, but she needs her rest, the doctor said to them. Thank you, Naruto said to the doctor. Thank yourself. If it wasn't for you giving your BLD she might not have made it, the doctor said to him, as it was a noble thing Naruto did. Yeah, Naruto said, walking out. When Naruto was gone, he monitored Alisa and did one more check, and as he left he didn't see the bullet wound close up slightly or that Alisa's skin tone changed from tan to an even lighter tan for a moment. When Naruto got outside, he went into an alley and changed before taking to the sky with the others. Naruto, Demona thought as she could practically feel it in the wind, feeling his bloodlust, and soon it became even more real as she saw him in the distance. Where have you been all night? Brooklyn asked as Naruto landed. Alisa's been shot, they're still in the iffy stage if she'll pull through, Naruto said, shocking all of them. Someone is gonna die, they all thought as they could see Naruto's eyes glow red like his mother's. Who? Goliath asked impatiently, not liking a friend of theirs was harmed, especially when they had so few. Only man I can think of, Draken. Naruto said to them simply. And where do we find him? Hudson asked, wanting a location. Follow the trail of someone will talk, Naruto said as he took to the sky. Hudson, you and Bronx watch over Alisa, the rest of you are with us, Goliath said to his fellow gargoyles. Aye lad, Hudson said as he picked Bronx up. For once I'm glad we're stuck here, Shikaku said. Why? Gyuki said. Because we'd maul that but to pieces, Kurama said, growling. The park. A man pointed a high-tech gun at another man before growling was heard as Naruto dropped on him, letting the other man get away. What is this? A new kind of gun, a new way to kill people. Naruto said as he crushed the gun in his hand. Where did you get it? Who gave it to you? He shouted at the man. A guy called Glasses, he's selling them, the man said. Where? Naruto roared. Canal Street down near the docks. The man said before Naruto tossed him down before taking to the sky. With Hudson. Hudson's head shot up as a loud long beep was heard in the hospital room. Code Blue, ICU, a doctor said. No, Hudson said as Alisa was flatlining. Flatline, no pulse. A nurse said. Epinephrine, the doctor said as his assistant gave him a needle which he injected into Alisa. Still flat, the nurse said. Come on lass, Hudson said as he considered her one of them for the friendship and loyalty she displayed. Get the paddles, 400 watt seconds. Clear, the doctor said as the assistant used the paddles on Alisa. The beeping on the heart monitor returned. Got her. Steady pulse rhythm, the nurse said in relief. The doctor sighed in relief, wiping his brow. Bronx and Hudson sighed in relief as they laid down. With Naruto. Glasses was about to hand another man one of the laser guns they got from Zanato's shipment, but Naruto dropped onto the van behind him, smashing it before he picked Glasses up by his head. Where is Draken? He roared, making Glasses release every bodily fluid he had. At a nearby warehouse. Goliath landed on a rooftop as he followed Draken out of the city with Demona before Naruto landed behind them. I see you were successful in your way, Demona said, knowing Naruto would have come as he learned from her about interrogation. Where is he? Naruto asked. Inside, Goliath said. Demona smirked as this may have been considered family bonding, but she felt it was bittersweet as she, like the others, have come to like Alisa Maza. The trio dropped down. Inside. Glasses, calm down, you're not making sense, we better get this stuff moved out. And what the hell, you smell like SHT. Seriously, Draken said before the trio of family tore through the side. Shoot them, he said. Goliath looked at the breaker box for the building before he smashed it, turning off the lights. Naruto landed in the middle of the group, smashing a crate full of Zanato's weapons. You're mine. All of you, he yelled before he backhanded Glasses, knocking him out as he hit a steel crate. The men were shooting frantically as the light from the lasers was making light for them to see. Demona screeched as she tackled one. Father. Naruto said as he looked up, seeing Draken running upstairs. Draken whimpered as the stairs shook as Goliath roared, chasing after him. As Draken got to the upper floors, he aimed only to see nothing before getting grabbed by Naruto and lifted up. I should throw you down to your doom. He roared. Goliath and Demona looked at Naruto as he held Draken over his head. But that's not what she would have wanted, Naruto said as he calmed down but still punched him in the face before dropping him only to wrap him up with the guard rail. I would have killed him, Demona said as she got a hard look from her husband. Gargoyle justice isn't human justice, Naruto said. A few minutes had passed as the trio looked at the restrained criminals before the doors opened and Owen walked in. Of course you're the buyer, Naruto said. Mr. Zanato's had to get the guns back somehow, Owen said. Are these all the guns? Goliath asked. No, 37 are missing. I did the inventory report when I heard about the theft. That means a lot of thugs out there got some bad guns, Naruto said to him. Goliath grabbed a cannon. What are you doing? Owen asked curiously. Making sure these guns don't fall in the wrong hands, Goliath said as he blasted all the guns, destroying them before snapping the one he had in half. Naruto smiled as he respected him very much for this reason. What are you doing? Draken said as Goliath dropped the two halves in his lap. Making sure the police link you to the stolen weapons, Goliath said. Mr. Zanato's will not like this, Owen said. I'll take it up with him personally, now come along. We have sick friend to visit, Goliath said to his lover and son. Next day. Hey sleeping beauty, Naruto said as Alisa began to stir. Heard you saved my life, Alisa said as she was in and out of it mostly but caught a few things. I did nothing special, Naruto said to her as she lightly punched him in the arm. You brought me here and gave me your BLD that is special, Alisa said to him as they talked and laughed. Gave us a good scare there for a minute, Naruto said. Didn't think anything scared you being a knight and all, Alisa said with a small laugh. Outside. The clan made a collective sigh of relief seeing Alisa was alright before taking off to go back to the castle. You know in the old days sharing BLD was a sign of marriage, Demona said to Goliath with a chuckle wondering how they'd react. Don't start on that, I don't think he could take it, Goliath said chuckling as well. Prison. How is she? Zanato's asked Owen. Perfectly healthy, Owen said to Zanato simply. Keep an eye on her, Zanato said as he was thinking intensely. Naruto's BLD is more valuable than the cells we got from Goliath due to his nature. It'll be interesting to see what sort of developments will happen in Miss Maza, he said as he thought there was more to Alisa's quick recovery than quick healing. A bearded man walked wearing a prison uniform. I do believe I still have 20 minutes, Owen said looking at his watch. Take all the time you need, I'm here with an offer for Mr. Zanato's, the man said as he sat down in a chair. I'm listening, Zanato said raising a brow wondering what someone would or could offer him in jail. I hear you have a small pest problem. For a small fee I could take them off your hands, the man said. I see, and how will you go about this, Mr. Zanato's asked leading on wanting a name. Call me MacBeth, the man said. At the castle. Alisa was using crutches to go up some steps. Crutches such a weird invention, Naruto said as he watched Alisa use them. Weird? They SCK, Alisa said as she hated them as they were tiring to use. As the two reached the top they found MacBeth standing there. Hey, Alisa said not knowing who this was. Hello MDM, MacBeth said simply. Who are you? Naruto asked wondering why he was here to begin with. They call me MacBeth, he said. Like the guy from the book? Naruto asked as he read that particular story. MacBeth chuckled a little. Let's continue this inside, Alisa said. Oh, you protect no secrets MDM, I know all about these creatures, MacBeth said gesturing to the gargoyles. Oh, Naruto said getting in front of her. And I know about you as well Mr. Wyvern, MacBeth said to him. The sun went down and the gargoyles began to wake up. MacBeth, Demona said in surprise. It's been a while Demona, MacBeth said. Okay now I'm confused, Naruto said wondering how this man knew his mother. I've come with an offer, leave this drafty castle and live with me at my estate, MacBeth said. I'm afraid we must refuse, Goliath said as he was in no way giving up his home. And I insist I wouldn't stoop so low as to attack you as you slept, but now, MacBeth said as he opened up his coat to show his weapons. Stop, Demona said to him, getting between them. We have a truce, Demona. I will not break it for now, but those terms don't apply to them, MacBeth said to her. You will have my brother, but the offer extends to my son. Am I clear? Demona said, growling and hissing at him, her eyes glowing a crimson red, almost daring him to say otherwise. Can someone please explain what's going on? Naruto asked, wanting answers. Meet me at this address tomorrow during the day, MacBeth said as he handed Naruto a slip of paper with an address. But since I came all this way, I'd love to see you in action, Goliath. I've heard so much, he said, cracking some bones, looking at the colossal gargoyle. Leave, Goliath said, growling as he put a hand on MacBeth's shoulder before getting tossed. Goliath got back to his feet, growling. Okay, let's stop this before someone gets hurt, and by someone I mean me, Demona said, getting between them. Fine. See you tomorrow, fellow knight, MacBeth said as he left. Okay, that was weird, Broadway said. Isn't that your entire lives? Alisa asked, raising a brow, wondering what normal was for them. Touché, Lexington said. Next day at noon. You have the same look your mother has, MacBeth said as they drank some tea. Thanks, Naruto said, choosing to take that as a compliment. I used to be friends with her, but life took a dark turn. I may dislike her, but I despise Iago more, MacBeth said. Enemy of my enemy is my friend, Naruto asked him curiously. That's why we called the truce, we both hate him, MacBeth said. How did he become what he is? A magic spell, just like the one that was placed on myself and Demona, only it slowed his aging even more, MacBeth said to him. He has enhanced himself using alchemy, always keeping up with the times, wanting to be one step ahead of us, he said to him as he had to admit it was a difficult workaround in the ages. What's this spell that you mentioned? Naruto asked him curiously. Ancient sisters bonded our life forces, myself and Demona are immortal, no one can kill us except the other, and in which means we both die, MacBeth said. You are him, the three sisters of fate, Naruto said, realizing this was the genuine MacBeth. Fate, I've grown to hate that word in all my years, MacBeth said. Same, Naruto said as he thought fate was CRP, leaving people with no freedom or choice. Why do you hate it? MacBeth asked curiously. A senile old man tried to manipulate my life to turn me into his child of prophecy, Naruto said. I like you, lad. From what Demona said about you is true. I would have gladly liked to have known you in our time, MacBeth said as he respected Naruto's views and respected him as a fellow knight. Once a knight, always a knight, even if said knight lost his shield, Naruto said. A knight is not dictated by the weapons or armor he wields but what he fights for, MacBeth said to him. I know, but I love that shield, Naruto said with chuckle. Just so you know that we don't know what'll happen, MacBeth said to him. Immortality has a cost in it somewhere, Naruto said as he caught on. If the spell is undone you could turn to dust or time will resume for you, he said, knowing that certain spells and curses had limits and costs. Magic always a tricky thing, MacBeth said. If we kill Cold Steel that we may also kill my mother, Naruto said calmly. Yes, he found that little backup plan delightful, MacBeth said as he was fine with death, but he didn't feel right taking away someone who in a short time he'd come like mother away. So why did my mom stop the fight? She said she'd get hurt, Naruto asked him. We feel the other's pain, whatever happens to her happens to me when we're close, MacBeth said. So the same for Cold Steel, but since he has less of a body it's minimal, Naruto said to him, thankful his mother and MacBeth wouldn't suffer. Knowing him, he's probably found a workaround for that. He's not immortal, no, like I said, the sisters merely slowed his aging down even more. It's why he needed a new body, MacBeth said as they had a lucky break then. His original body was reaching its end, Naruto said, a little glad he had gotten screwed over. Yes, and apparently this new body doesn't have the spell of bonding to him, MacBeth said as he smiled at Naruto's smile. I'll see what I can do, Naruto said to him. About the spells on all of you, he said to MacBeth seriously. Now how well are you with your sword? MacBeth asked as he had been itching for a good sword battle. Pretty good, Naruto said with a challenging smirk. We shall see, MacBeth said as he pressed a button showing an arsenal of weapons, one of which was a sword. The two grinned as they charged at each other. 12 hours later. I will kill you, Demona said, banging MacBeth's head on the floor as she strangled him, feeling the pain herself. Your son is definitely a knight I would have liked to have back then, MacBeth said as Demona stopped trying to strangle him. He won? Demona asked, raising a brow. Oh no, but he did better than most have did against me, MacBeth said happily. Demona sighed as she looked at her unconscious son with an idiotic grin on his face, as he had some bruises and the floor and walls were covered in his and MacBeth's blood. Sometimes I wonder who has the harder head, you or your father, she said. 1 hour later. Demona and Naruto were flying home before they looked down to see the gang on a rooftop. What are you doing? Goliath asked as he just arrived as well. I've found you a new home, Alisa said to them with a smile. What? How dare you, I told you that castle is our home. Goliath yelled. No, Goliath, she's right, it's suicide to stay there, Broadway said. Father, you know they're right, it's just a place of stone and wood, home is much more than that. It's where all of us can be together and safe, Naruto said. Goliath made a loud roar of frustration before sighing. Come on lad, let's go, Hudson said. Give me 1 minute, Goliath said as he flew towards the castle. Naruto followed after him. Inside the castle, Owen was in the process of cleaning up the shattered glass from the cover that once held the grimoire. We have a message for your MSTR, we're leaving. But we'll be back to claim that which is ours, Goliath said as he walked away. Bet on it, Naruto said, following his father. I'll pass along the message, Owen said. Goliath and Naruto stood on the edge of the castle, taking in one last long look before diving down through the air. Few hours later. The gargoyles looked around the clock tower that was attached to the police precinct. I bet I could get this working again, Lexington said, looking at the bell. Why would you want to? Brooklyn asked as it seemed like a dumb idea. Yeah, seriously, that's a headache just asking to happen, Naruto said as it'd go off every hour and ring the number of time it hit. Yeah, leave that clock alone, Shikaku said, deadly serious. It's not so bad, there's room over there for a television, Hudson said. Yeah, throw a couple rugs down, a lot of cleaning, it'll be home, Kokuo said. A whole lot of cleaning, Kurama said, coughing as he kicked dust up. Alright, I know it's a fixer-upper, Alisa said, knowing it wasn't the best but it was something. As long as we are safe it is home, Goliath said. Sun's coming up and after my little sword match with MacBeth I could use some stone sleep, Naruto said, rubbing his shoulder, and soon transformed into a gargoyle. The gargoyles took their positions on the terrace and as the sun rose they turned to stone. Alisa smiled knowing that they were safe as she left, and as she left she stretched as her shoulder blades had been hurting as she felt like it was poking her skin. It felt a little weird at times but she smiled in relief, feeling of tension disappear as she stretched. Few days later. So how are you doing? Naruto asked his mother on the very top of the clock tower. Fine as one could be, Demona said, having a faraway look in her eyes. I miss the castle too, Naruto said as he knew his mother was being less vocal than his father but shared the same opinion as him, a rare sight if there ever was one. If only there was a way to make him feel like we feel right now, Demona said, referring to Zanato's wanting to make him suffer. If it makes you feel better, I stole a lot of his furniture, Naruto said as when night came he stole most of the comforts like chairs and the TV from Zanato's. Demona covered her mouth as she chuckled as that did cheer her up slightly. I also stole the grimoire, Naruto said to her as there was no way he was leaving that with Zanato's. Suddenly Lexington flew up to them. It's Alisa, she got something for us, he said. The trio flew back down and landed on the balcony before walking inside. There they saw the others looking at the small TV Alisa brought them yesterday, looking at security footage. They saw what looked like a gargoyle taking a priceless jewel, the Eye of Odin. That's metal, Naruto said as he could see the glimmer from when small lights hit it. The Steel Clan. I thought we wrecked all of M, Broadway said as he whined. Clearly he made more, Goliath said as he was angry that there was something that had his face still walking around. I don't understand why donate the jewel only to steal it back. Alisa said, not seeing a motive. Insurance scandal, Naruto said as Zanato's couldn't be faulted or have his tax deductions taken away due to the museum losing the thing. And if he rebuilt the robots, he clearly would have them upgraded, Demona said as Zanato's wouldn't send the robots out unless there was some sort of upgrade. Great, I'm looking forward to healing from blaster burns again, Naruto said sarcastically. First he steals our home, now he steals our very identity. Goliath said angrily. I am not looking forward to this, Brooklyn said as the Steel Clan was very hard to fight. Goliath headed towards the balcony. Where are you going? Alisa asked in worry, knowing one shouldn't act on anger. To have a chat with Zanato's, Goliath said in a low threatening voice. The city is on alert, I don't think that's a good idea, Alisa said as many people had their eyes on the sky tonight and her brother had informed her that he and many others would be on standby. He's still going, hard-headed father, Naruto said as Brooklyn, Lexington, and Broadway left with him. Where did you think you got it from? Demona said, raising a brow, wondering why he left himself out. Come on, Alisa said as she grabbed Naruto. Where? Naruto asked, spreading his wings. To try and stop them, Alisa said seriously. Wouldn't be much of your partner if I didn't go with you, Naruto said as he put the papers Zanato's put to good use, becoming Alisa's police partner despite being so new. I still do not understand the concept of partners, is it like marriage partners? Demona said, feigning ignorance. Naruto faltered in a step, mother, he said, blushing brightly as she chuckled. 15 minutes later. I swear I get all the bad drafts, Naruto said as he was the last one here. The two suddenly heard blaster fire, and when Naruto looked down he saw two of the Steel Clan robots with a red and black one, and the trio was looking down at the group. Bet the red one's the leader, Alisa said as no one made just one member of the group special without some kind of purpose. They don't know I'm up here, let's sneak up on them, Naruto said with a grin. Naruto adjusted his hold of Alisa, shifting her to one arm, and blasted the trio of robotic gargoyles with a lightning blast from his free hand. The trio of metal gargoyles dropped to the roof with the others as the red one looked at Naruto and Alisa. I don't think that's a robot, Naruto said to Alisa. What do you mean? Alisa asked. Look how it moves, Naruto said as he looked at it as it looked at him, noticing the subtle human twitches. Zanato's, he said with a glare. The other two robots' eyes flashed as they got back up. Clearly he wants to find out where we live now, Naruto said as Zanato's didn't want to be left in the dark. Please tell me you have a plan. Alisa asked him. Yeah, it's called Follow the Leader, Naruto said as he took off in a direction as Goliath, Lexington, Broadway, and Brooklyn followed him. Where are we going? Goliath asked him, wondering what Naruto's idea was. There, Naruto said, pointing at the Statue of Liberty. Sorry Alisa, gonna need both hands, he said as he dropped her off on the torch. This is not funny, Alisa said in both anger and annoyance, knowing Naruto was probably / definitely smirking. Okay, when they get close, split, Naruto said to the others. The red one charged and tackled him, making the two land on the statue's head. Lexington went up as one chased him while Brooklyn dove down as the other one chased him. Broadway saw how Brooklyn was flying before coming up with an idea. He tore off a piece of the statue and molded it into a bat. Broadway. Brooklyn said as he was heading in his direction. As Brooklyn went past Broadway, the blue-green gargoyle readied himself. Batter up, he said as he swung, knocking the robot right into the book of the statue, smashing it. Home run. Brooklyn said as the two high-fived. Lexington saw the robot was keeping up with him. So you can keep up, let's see how well you move, he said. Lexington began doing loops and other maneuvers before diving down towards the statue. He smirked as the robot increased speed before he spread his wings out, slowing down. What goes up must come down, he said as the robot slammed into the statue, exploding. Naruto and the red robot were in an arm lock trying to outmuscle the other. You know, most people would pay a lot for this kind of thing, he said to Zanato's. A robotic exosuit wearing billionaire fighting a gargoyle knight, sounds like a movie scene, Zanato said jokingly. Awesome one, Naruto said before he flipped back, tossing Zanato's back. Also, I was referring to beating the living hell out of a parent, he said, cracking some bones as he beat the robot version of his father. Don't I know it, Zanato said offhandedly, referring to his own father having wanted to take many swings at him in his early life. It's only you now, Goliath said as the trio landed around Zanato's. Zanato's looked to see the remains of the other two robots, all that work, down the drain. Oh well, back to the drawing board, he said, flying off. Come on, we can get him, Broadway said. Later, news choppers incoming, Naruto said as he went to get Alisa. Hey, he said as he picked her up. About time, Alisa said, glaring at him, not at all pleased at being a damsel. At least the view's great, Naruto said, looking at the city. Can't argue with that, Alisa said as she pressed her head into him, enjoying the flight. Back at the clock tower. Beat Zanato's, stopped his Tinker Toys, and now the city thinks the gargoyle thief was a robot. Clear times now, Naruto said with a chuckle. Yes, but this means Zanato's is upping his game. Robots can be rebuilt, Demona said, knowing this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Yeah, and something tells me they're gonna be tougher than the ones we faced tonight, Brooklyn said, rubbing the bruises he got. Well, it's almost morning, and I am beat, Alisa said, feeling tired. I'll take you home, Naruto said, picking her up again. What is with you picking me up so much, Alisa said, giggling as she teased him. Force of habit, I used to have to do this to the princess a lot, Naruto said. Alisa became slightly jealous at that mention, but then remembered that the princess was long dead. Yeah, poor lass always was in the worst places when attacks happened, Hudson said as he remembered one of their first meetings when her father was poisoned. So you always had to carry her to safety? Alisa asked, raising a brow. Well, I am a knight and it was my duty to protect her. No matter how many times she hit me when I did, Naruto said as the princess was a real piece of work at times. Try not to have too much fun, Demona teased. Mother, we're just friends. Naruto said with a dark blush on his face. Naruto then flew off with Alisa to her apartment. 20 minutes later. I think I'll crash on your balcony, Naruto said as there were minutes if not seconds till sunlight, and when he was hit he turned to stone to heal from his fight with Zanato's. Alisa just smiled, kissing his cheek, and as she went to her bed and lied down she didn't see as her skin became a lighter shade. For a moment she seemingly turned to stone momentarily, not that she noticed in her exhaustion, as she then appeared to be normal. I swear you really love to be up here, don't you? Naruto said, currently a gargoyle riding the wind with Alisa on his back, having a smile full of excitement. Most people would kill to be in this position, it's so liberating, Alisa said to him, enjoying the moonlight, the air hitting her face. It felt amazing, especially the freedom. Naruto couldn't deny her there, as gliding was amazing. He was brought out of his thoughts when he heard something. Alisa, hold on, he said as he dived down to a roof, dodging a blade. Hello uncle, he said in disdain. Nephew, I've been looking for you, Cold Steel said with a chuckle. What do you want? Naruto asked, pushing Alisa behind him. To make an offer, Cold Steel said to him. Join me and help me rule the clan, he said with a smile on his metal face. Naruto laughed as he heard this. No one in the clan will follow you ever, he said, as Cold Steel was no longer a true gargoyle, and to top the matter off, he was the reason the entire clan was dead. True, but they'll follow you. Imagine it, Naruto, you and me together side by side just like old times, Cold Steel said with a grin. Naruto clenched his fist in pure rage. Flashback. So you are the runt that my brother and sister took in, Hyago said to a little 5-year-old Naruto. You don't seem impressive, he said, picking the boy up by his foot. Getting punched in the eye, better but still nothing unique, he said as he dropped him, but Naruto landed on his feet luckily. You're mean, Naruto said, giving him a look of unhappiness. Please child, you are too sheltered, you have not seen me when I have been mean, Hyago said as his eyes glowed red, not seeing the child even twitch in fear. Perhaps there is more to you, he said, a little impressed he wasn't trembling in fear, thinking Demona had a hand in that area. Come, he said, not giving Naruto an option as he picked him up and glided away from the castle. 1 hour later. Watch very carefully, Hyago said as he landed in the woods after spotting a small group of humans. Naruto watched as he put him in a tree branch and approached the group, and his eyes widened in horror as Hyago approached the group, and soon the forest was full of screams. Flashback end. As I recall, you were the only one to have fun, Naruto said, as it disgusted him to this day what he was witness to. Yes, your mother was quite displeased. Ah, well, live and learn, I suppose, Gyugo said, not even bothered by the events he made Naruto bear witness to. Yeah, I remember that all right, Naruto said with a smirk. Flashback. Demona slapped Gyugo across the face. What the hell were you thinking? Demona shouted, her eyes glowing so bright they may as well have been crimson. Come on, I was just showing the boy what he really needs to expect in life, not this sheltered life you and Goliath have been feeding him. You know he will not remain a child forever. Gyugo said with a smirk. There's a difference between preparing him for the harshness of battle and showing him mindless slaughter. Goliath shouted, looking so enraged it betrayed his regular appearance and character. These are both things he will need to see if he wishes to understand the world more, however harsh it may look. I do have the boy's best interests in mind. Gyugo said with a smirk that betrayed his word. That may be true, lad, but you forget the lad is still young and new to the world. He should not be exposed to its harsher nature so soon. Hudson said, putting a hand on Gyugo's a little more force and strength than he normally would. True, Gyugo said as he rubbed his chin. From now on you do not get to take him anywhere without my say-so, Demona said, as it wasn't a request, and if he did so again the consequences would be harsh. Very well, sister, very well, Gyugo said. Everyone looked at him with a distrustful look, deciding they needed a closer eye on Naruto and Gyugo. End flashback. My sister always was quick to strike me like this. Cold Steel said as he shot Alisa with a dart, you have just been poisoned, in 24 hours, you'll be dead. I have the antidote, meet me in the Old York Opera House in the village, Chow, he said as he flew off. Alisa looked at where she was shot and saw the dart struck her badge, making her sigh in relief. The clock tower. Lucky for me the dart hit my badge. Alisa said. That's just the type of tactic I'd expect from my brother. Demona remarked as it was cheap and underhanded. He told me where he is, but what are we gonna do? If we all go he'll flee, Naruto said, knowing Gyugo would try underhanded tricks but wouldn't fight if the odds weren't in his favor. We can't lock him in the tower, and because of his cybernetic body he heals too quickly, so killing him is out, Demona said as she wished she could kill him. Do you think it's possible to reach him? Naruto asked them. Before I would have thought it was possible, but after everything he's done in the past I doubt there is anything to reach. Goliath said. I know, but... Naruto said. You haven't seen the things he's done, he is beyond reason, Demona said as she looked at her son sadly and was a little angry that he had Goliath's sense of mercy and was showing it toward her piece of CRP belonging in Hell, brother. 1 hour later. I'm really reconsidering letting you live when we were hatchlings, Demona said, carrying a wounded Goliath as Cold Steel blasted him. I am surprised, sister, and they say I'm the monster, Cold Steel said, trying to track her. I have limits, Demona said as she was angry she was being talked down to by him. For one, I never put children in danger, she said as it made her blood boil to this day, the horror and trauma he inflicted onto her son. Still mad about that? Cold Steel said, laughing. Infuriated doesn't begin to cover it, Demona said, ducking and looking back as Cold Steel just fired at her. I must say it was pretty predictable how you'd react. I shoot at your son and poison his lover. You two are so easy, it's embarrassing, and when the sun comes up you'll join the rest of our clan, Cold Steel said cockily. Demona hated to admit it, but they were in a bind, one that pretty much meant they were dead by morning. Leave me, save yourself, Goliath said. I am no coward, Demona said as she was ashamed to admit she would have done this for anyone else in the past, but her son's spirit was something that inspired her to be better and ironically set an example, something she should have been doing for him. I didn't leave you when we faced the Archmage and I ain't leaving now, she said firmly. The moment was soon interrupted when Cold Steel began shooting at them again. I'm gonna kill him, Goliath said weakly. No time for sweet talk, beloved, Demona said as she knew beneath the surface Goliath was as violent as she was. Demona looked down and saw a sewer cover. Aha! Ha! Cold Steel said as he came across the corner and looked down to the street below and saw the moved cover. Are you actually dumb enough to go underground where you can't use your wings? he said to himself. Few minutes later. I hope you like it down here, brother, it'll be your tomb, Demona said as she wanted to rip him apart. Certainly smells like one, Cold Steel said as he was glad he was half robotic but was wishing he didn't have a sense of smell. Your breath is worse, Demona said as she was looking for a way out. Then clearly you don't remember Broadway's, Cold Steel said with a chuckle. Demona found a way out as she looked down to see a small pond that the water in the sewer was falling down to, and she looked up to see a lightning storm forming. Is he still alive? Goliath asked Demona. Sadly, Demona said as she felt they were running the clock. Aha! Cold Steel said as he fired at them only for them to drop down to the water below. SHT, he said looking up and see the lightning before a bolt came down in front of him. 1 hour later. Well, I certainly picked a perfect place to die, Demona said as they were inside a cemetery inside a crypt. How long till sunrise? Goliath asked as they sat on the floor of the crypt. Less than an hour, perhaps even minutes, Demona said as she was tired from all the running while carrying Goliath. We will not die here, Goliath said in weak anger. Demona felt tired and wanted to rest. Our son, she said, her eyes glowing red for a moment before the red faded. I will not leave him like this, she said, trying to muster up as much strength as possible, but soon turned to stone. With Cold Steel. Ah, sunrise, Cold Steel said with a smile, looking around for the now stone gargoyles. Ah, he said as he found them. Hello, Naruto said with a smile. Cold Steel turned around and saw Naruto and Alisa holding guns, and before he could even blink he was shot in the eyes. Ahog. My eyes. Do you know how long it's going to take me to regenerate those? Cold Steel shouted, clutching his empty eye sockets. Don't care now, get out of here, Naruto said as he punched a hole into his uncle, activating his rocket, sending him flying out through the roof of the crypt. Looks like they had a crazy night, Alisa said, seeing an angry but exhausted pair of stone gargoyles. Knowing my parents and my uncle, I'd be surprised if it wasn't, Naruto said as he sat down in the crypt. Want me to grab some food? Alisa said, not thinking they'd be here, but she was sure it'd be good to have some food as this was gonna be a long wait. 12 hours later. So you took his eyes, Demona said with a smile. Impressive, she said, sounding proud, but thought her brother should be suffering in a worse fashion. You know he'll just grow back, Naruto said simply. Doesn't change the fact that he'll suffer, Demona said as if it was that simple, and had plans to rip out any organs and body parts he'd grow back and do it continuously till it was no longer amusing to her. We can worry about Cold Steel later, I'm just happy you two are alright. Naruto said, smiling, which both his parents returned before joining in a family embrace. 1 week later. A police chopper was hovering through the city. Next to her was her younger brother and police pilot Derek. Come on, sis. How long are we gonna keep this up? Derek asked as it had been a few days of this. Till I get something on him I can use. Zanato's always spots the tail of my car. Alisa said, using her binoculars to keep a close eye on a limousine owned by none other than Zanato's. Hey, you're dating her, mind talking some sense into her, Derek said as he cummed into Naruto as he was on the line but was at ground level. Listen, I'd have even less success, but I agree with her, give her a chance. Derek, he was caught doing something bad once, but what if he's still doing stuff like that, Naruto said to him, seeing him sigh. You know you are really obsessed with this guy. He did his time, why not just let him be? Derek asked, feeling if people did their time it should be the end, but he was giving what Naruto said some thought as a lot of people went back to their basic habits. Because Derek, I know he's dirty. Alisa shot back. How, getting spirit messages? Derek joked. Call it cop instinct. Alisa said, unable to say all that she knew to her brother. Hey. You're not the only cop up here, we get a real call, this is over. Derek said as they followed behind Zanato's. Meanwhile, back at the clock tower, Lexington was engaged in his own aerial battle with this new game they had gotten. Come on Lex, quit hogging the game. Shikaku shouted, very bored. Yeah, you've been hogging it for 5 hours. Brooklyn added as he ate a large sandwich. It's our turn. Come on. Chomei said, trying to take the controller from the young gargoyle. Why would you want to learn how to ride a helicopter when you've got wings? Broadway said. I'm starting to think we should destroy that thing. Demona said as she was annoyed, and when she was annoyed she often directed her anger to stop what had annoyed her. But don't you have the high score on it? Goliath whispered as Alisa dropped it off when Demona was here trying to relax and the others were on patrol. Case in point, no point in them wasting their time trying to beat it. The red-haired female gargoyle chuckled while looking over to Naruto looking off into the night with Kurama. Worried about your mate Kit? Kurama asked. She's not my mate. Naruto grumbled as he was listening to Alisa and her brother bicker wishing he was there, but they both agreed it'd be better if he was on the ground level as he'd have more flexibility, and yeah, she's tailing Zanato's and I just hope she stays safe with that guy. You can never be sure what'll happen. He's like Lex Luthor but with good looks, no HMO, he said as he had been listening way too much to teenage chatter. Good save. But she has good instincts, you should trust in them. Kurama said as instincts in his opinion were one's most trusted ally. Yeah, you're right. Naruto said only to grow annoyed as the arguing between the others started to weigh on his nerves. Enough. We're warriors and rookery brothers. Alisa didn't give us this game so we could fight over it like a bunch of spoiled brats. Naruto shouted, causing the others to lower their heads. Sorry, I guess I was just worried about Alisa. If cops were meant to fly they'd have wings. Broadway said as it was worrisome that there was ways of flight without the need of wings. Look Broadway, I know you worried after what's happened with Alisa these last few weeks, but she's a strong woman and you need to trust in her more. Kokuo stated, trying to ease his worries. Meanwhile the Maza siblings continued trailing Zanato's through the skies, her eyes locked on the millionaire's limo. Are they up there? Zanato said, dressed in a fancy black suit as Owen drove. Yes sir. The blonde assistant said. Good, let's go shopping. Zanato said as the limousine pulled into a large building, the Manhattan Diamond Exchange. Two familiar figures were also attending the Diamond Exchange, Jackal and Hyena. Hyena was in red dress which lighted her curves and exposed a good part of her cleavage. There it is. Hyena said, pointing to a display which held a rather enchanting stone. The Coyote Diamond, she said. The two siblings waltzed over to get a better look at the stone. Fox says it's the most valuable stone on Earth. Jackal remarked. What's to stop us from just grabbing it, and shooting our way free? Hyena said. Style dear sister, style. And because of the fact that I don't want to join Wolf and Fox in jail. Jackal said. So please try to restrain your BLD lust. I should have gone to Europe with Dingo, he knew how to have fun. Hyena said before jabbing her heel into her brother's knee, causing him to hold back a groan of pain as they prepared to set their plan in motion, only for one of the staff to take the diamond. Pardon me. I wasn't done looking at that. Jackal said in a growling, anger-filled tone. I'm sorry, but it's just been purchased. The curator replied. By whom, may I ask? Jackal asked, keeping his sister from going on the rampage. Why, Mr. David Zanato's, of course. She said, motioning over to a crowd surrounding Zanato's. The curator soon walked up presenting his newest acquisition. It should look very nice next to the Star of Arabian. Zanato said, holding up the Coyote Diamond, advertising his wealth to the peons that were listening as they clung to every word and laughed. That pompous twit, he can't do that. Hyena said, ready to go a claw out Zanato's eyes, only to be held back by her brother. Temper, I suppose we will have to steal it from him instead. Jackal said when a man called out asking if they were from the pack. Why, yes we are, would you like an autograph? Hyena said, seductively lacing her finger over the man's tie only to pull out a knife. How about writing it across your face, she said, smiling like a madwoman. Might as well get in on the fun. Jackal said as he kicked Zanato's, causing him to drop the diamond for Hyena to snatch it. Time to go, sis, he said as they got what they came for. I don't take orders, brother, not even from you. Hyena said as she refused to answer to anyone. Let's go. He shouted as they ran out the gallery past the screaming occupants. Call the police up. Zenado said, knowing it was unneeded. The sibling mercenaries were preparing to make their escape when the police copter pulled above them. Not one to be taken in easily, Jackal pulled out a bazooka and fired off, but thanks to Derek's skills he landed it safely on the building. Zenado's made it up to the roof only for Jackal and Hyena to circle around him like two hungry predators. You just made your last mistake, rich man. Jackal said, only to hear the sound of a gun clock. Drop the knives and hit the deck. Do it, do now. Alisa ordered, but the two merchants ran towards their paragliders and jumped off the roof. She saw them glide away. DMN, she said, hitting the wall. You alright? Naruto said as he flew above her. Alisa and Naruto then switched to a private channel. I'm fine, go after them, Alisa said, not wanting to lose those two. Times like this I enjoy being the only gargoyle that can fly, Naruto said, flapping his wings to pick up speed. How'd you manage that? Alisa asked as she thought he could only glide. Remember when I got brainwashed while I studied the book in and out and found this cool spell that makes my wings stronger, allowing me to fly, Naruto said to her. Awesome, must be nice to fly, Alisa said, as it must be better than when she rode on his back as he glided. Yeah, and they got away, Naruto said, seeing them go into a sewer. Oh hell, Alisa said as she heard that and looked at Zenado's sweet-talking her brother. Phew, been working out. You've never ran that fast before, Derek said as he hunched over to catch his breath. I guess I have, but they got away, Alisa said with a frown of anger both for the perps and him. With the diamond? DMN, Derek said, seeing that as a loss. Sorry I'm late, made a call and did a buolo, Naruto said to them in human form. Ah, Mr. Wyvern, a pleasure to see you again, Zenado said with a knowing smirk. Same, sorry we couldn't get your diamond back, Naruto said, resisting the urge to punch him. He set this up, he thought to himself as he owned the pack and was pretty sure he knew those two would be here. 20 minutes later. I swear I thought rebellion left when you stopped being a teenager, Naruto asked Alisa as they walked. It does, but Derek thinks I'm overbearing, and despite seeing the best in people he often fails to see them at their worst or has a one-sided view, Alisa said to him. Personally I think you should leave him alone, let him be him, Naruto said, as provoking someone in any manner usually screws you over. He wants to work with Zenados, for crying out loud, Alisa said, thinking that was like working with the devil. I know, but the more you try to make him look bad the worse you look. Try being the sister instead of the police officer and support him. Zenados can't keep secrets forever, he'll slip up eventually, Naruto said to her. I hope so, for all our sakes, Alisa said to him. With Zenados. Hello Anton, how is that sample I got you? Zenados asked as he gave the man Naruto's BLD, often wondering how Naruto's changes worked, as it was more interesting living a hybrid than as a gargoyle. Remarkable, I've had it for weeks and yet I've barely scratched the surface, Anton said as it was sunrise and he watched certain cells change to stone while others remained active, watching them switch between the two, often having to work at night to test the gargoyle BLD. Zenados was often wondering how the gargoyles ticked, and he felt Naruto, despite being a hybrid, was the best chance at understanding them. But I did find something interesting, Anton said as he put down a print out of a certain cell. What am I looking at? Zenados asked him curiously. That's what I've been trying to find out. This cell is not that of a gargoyle or a human, it's something else altogether, Anton said as it appeared like that of a human cell, but how it worked was something else. Zenados was now intrigued, wondering if there was more to Naruto than he or the other gargoyles and maybe even Naruto were aware of. With the gargoyles. I spent all day in those sewers and I couldn't track their scent. The only way we'll catch them is when they show up, Naruto said as he felt disgusted with himself as he felt his nose on fire. That explains the smell, Lexington said as he pinched his nose tightly. 6 showers and I still reek of that sewer, Naruto said as he growled. What would they go after next? They got the diamond, Broadway asked, wondering what they'd try. Rich guy attacked, needs bodyguard. The only next move would be them attacking Zenados, Naruto said as that was it, as they would get greedy and want more, and Zenados is that meal ticket for them. And he chose Derek because of Alisa's connection to him, Brooklyn said, as it was obvious. And knowing Hyena and Jackal, they'll go after Zanatos as they probably don't like people who get in their way, and he stopped them from killing someone, Naruto said before he realized something. And Derek is supposed to be flying Zanato's helicopter tonight, he said. And don't forget son, they have a score to settle with us, Demona said, as people with scores usually often try to collect, you especially, she said as her son aggravated his enemies to new heights. I know, but right now we've got to find Zanato's helicopter before Hyena and Jackal do, Naruto said as he took off. 1 hour later. They still fighting? Alisa asked over the phone. Yep, would you think less of me if I wanted to kill them? Naruto said, wanting some silence. Trust me, I know that feeling, Alisa said to him. I know the situation with Derek is hard, but it's better to be there for him instead of against him. Trust me, he needs you to be his sister more than a fellow cop, Naruto said to her, and listen, I'll transform if need be, he said as he really hoped that wasn't the case and really hoped it wasn't in midday, as it was a pain to keep himself not stone in gargoyle form, as it took his magic to keep him solid, and if he was hurt it took a lot more focus. Next day. You know, lots of people would pay for this, Naruto said to Alisa as she came in the men's locker room. To see you naked, I'd imagine, Alisa said quickly, turning his joke back on him. Nice, also I tried, good luck, Naruto said, motioning to her that he be on the roof in case she wanted to show him the truth. Alright, wish me better luck Mr. 8-pack, Alisa said as she went to talk to her brother. Hey, I've seen that stomach of yours Miss 6-pack, Naruto said with a smile. I am very uncomfortable right now, Derek said as watching his sister flirt with someone he thought of as a decent guy and friend. That's normal for younger siblings, Naruto said as he went to get dressed, as all he had on was a towel around his waist. Earth to Alisa, Derek said as he saw his sister watch Naruto walk away to get dressed without so many prying eyes. Sorry, what? Alisa said, coming back to Earth. If you like him so much, why don't you just ask him out? Derek asked, really getting her attention now. Be quiet, Alisa said as she blushed. Are you wearing makeup? Derek said, not really seeing his sister as a person to wear makeup. No, Alisa said, turning her head away quickly. This reminds me of all those times you teased me when I dated someone back in high school, Derek said as Alisa was hard to embarrass as she rarely ever dated and rarely did anything embarrassing or tease-worthy. Enough about me please, Alisa said, deciding to change the topic back to what she was truly here for, and decided it was time to fold. Come on, I want to show you something, she said to him. What, you finally gonna ask him out with someone to prove it? Derek said with a smirk, as at this point the entire department had bets on when she or Naruto would make a move. Shut up already and come on, Alisa said as she dragged him upstairs. Few minutes later. I honestly expected you to chicken out, Naruto said, fully dressed on the roof. So what am I here for? Derek asked curiously, not seeing anything. Do it, Alisa said to him. Do what? Derek asked, raising an eyebrow. Naruto sighed as flames came over him, turning him into his gargoyle form. Whoa! Derek said as he backed up. Naruto looked at him and waved his wings. Not many times I get to enjoy the sun's warmth like this, he said as he liked the feeling it brought to his wings, but it was still a hazel not to turn to stone. What are you? Derek said, not knowing what to say. Relax man, it's still me, Naruto said as he changed back. Wanna hear your sister out now, he said simply. Derek replied with a silent nod. Next day. You done? Naruto said, catching a lamp as Alisa was on a rampage, as after telling Derek everything he still decided to work for Zanatos, something that Alisa did not take well. If I didn't know any better I'd say she was related to my mother, he thought, as this anger would have impressed her. How could he still work for him after telling him the truth? Alisa said, barely keeping herself calm. He's his own person, you have to let him make his own choices and his own mistakes. You can't baby him forever, Naruto said as he wished there was more he could do. I'm not trying to baby him, I'm trying to stop him from making the worst mistake in his life, Alisa said as Zanatos was up to something and she could feel it in her very soul. Well, all I know is that Zanatos is doing this to piss you off, Naruto said as that was probably a bonus to hide his true goal. I thought you said he was doing this so he could get the coyote diamond back for free, making us do all the dirty work, Alisa said, rolling her eyes. You know, when we find it we don't necessarily have to return it to him, Naruto said as he was willing to flip off Zanatos. And what would we do with it? Zanatos owns it, and if we get caught with it that's stealing, Alisa said simply. Actually, I was thinking of just crushing it. I mean, he already has a fortune, what's one less gem gonna matter, Naruto said as it'd be funny and wished he could see the look on his face when he got dust. It'd be fun to PSS him off like I am right now, Alisa said as her anger was reaching new heights. You know, you kinda have this cute face when you're all mad and pouty, Naruto said, chuckling before dodging a pillow. Alisa sighed, glad he was here to cheer her up and keep her from doing something crazy, as legally speaking she was stalking him. How goes Lexington trying to fix that helicopter you all took down? She asked curiously. Technically the trio took it down, Naruto said with a chuckle as it was impressive. Who knew you could literally learn to fly a helicopter through a video game? Alisa said, having a bit more respect for video games. But knowing those two, they'll probably get another chopper or something, Naruto said as those three had been close since they hatched. True, it's amazing what goons can get their hands on nowadays, Alisa said as she always thought Jackal and Hyena were dangerous thugs with a simple mindset. Well, let's go make sure they don't kill Zanatos or Derek, Naruto said, as that'd be a very complicated thing, especially with Alisa's relationship with the clan. Few hours later. The F are we? Naruto asked as he looked at the wildlife. It's a park near the woods, be careful of stray animals, Alisa said to him. Animals love me, Naruto said as even the most violent animals loved him. Of course, Alisa said before she covered her mouth to hold back laughter as a owl was sitting on his shoulder and a toad on his head. Laugh it up, Naruto said as he put the owl on her shoulder before having a deadpan look as it just hopped back onto his. Likes you more than it likes me, Alisa said, not at all bothered. Animals always like me more than anybody, Naruto said as he looked around. I know you're there, B, he said as he brought Alisa behind a tree. And here I thought I wasn't gonna have any fun, I want my rematch, Hyena said with a smile as she wanted to rip Naruto apart. Hyena then jumped as the owl flew at her, clawing at her with its talons. Okay, now I'm jealous, Alisa said as having animals attack people you disliked seemed kinda cool. Jackal came from behind her before groaning as the same toad that was sitting on Naruto's head jumped at his face. What is that? A toad, he said before groaning as Alisa kicked him in the gut, sending him back a few feet. Few minutes later. So why hire him? Naruto asked Zanatos as Alisa was with her brother. I like having an advantage here and there, Zanatos said, picking his words carefully. I think this belongs to you, Naruto said as he dropped some dust in his hand. Sorry, the diamond got a little crushed, he said with a smirk. Well played, Zanatos said, more impressed than annoyed. You forget I am willing to play this game, Naruto said as he was willing to play Zanatos' game, but he had every intention to win. That's why I like you, Naruto, you're not boring, Zanatos said as this seemed familiar in some way. And you may be a rich PP but you never disappoint, Naruto said as it was rare to find a worthy adversary. Few hours later. Alisa still felt angry that her brother went to work for Zanatos and laid down, not knowing the effects of her anger, not seeing that her nails sharpened. Flashback, Castle Wyvern. We should all go with you. Demon said. She's right, father, we should all go. Naruto argued. My love, we've been through this. Goliath said as they walked up to the toward where Goliath's rookery brother Othello and sister Desdemona standing watch. Where do you go, brother? Othello asked. To track down the Vikings before they attack again. Goliath stated. Will you need help in? Desdemona was about to ask when the Magus cut her off. Fools! Why are you still here? If you wait any longer you won't have to track the Vikings, they'll be at our gates again. Magus said disrespectfully as he walked away. Man, I hate that old goat. Naruto growled. Easy, young one, we all do. Desdemona said to her rookery nephew. I just don't see why we don't just leave this place if they're gonna treat us like this. We risk our lives every night and they still treat us like we're lower than some. Naruto said, punching his fist into a nearby wall. I agree, let the Vikings have it, we can survive anywhere. Othello said. A gargoyle can no more stop protecting the castle than breathing the air. Hudson said as he rose up the steps to join Goliath. How many times have we heard that? Demona whispered to her rookery sister. I lost count after 40. Desdemona chuckled. I heard that. Hudson said, causing them to stiff up. He, someone's in trouble. Naruto said in a sing-song tone as Othello chuckled at his nephew's antics. In the meantime, stay here and keep guard, my brother, I'll see you soon. Goliath said, placing his hands on his brother's shoulders as he nodded. And you, my love, I never lose sight of, keep watch over our son. Goliath said, cupping Demona's chin, looking over to Naruto, who was still hesitant but nodded, feeling he should go with his father. 1 week later. So what did we make? Zenado said as fusing metal to stone was very difficult. Well, technically it's my brother and his lover in one body, though right now he'll be so confused the other personalities won't start up, Coldsteel said. This'll be confusing, but sure, let's pull a magical Frankenstein, Zenado said as they got to work using a spell and electricity. After electrocuting the body on the table, after Coldsteel did his magic, the body began to move. He's alive, alive. Coldsteel and Zenados exclaimed, both looking at each other surprised. I've always wanted to say that, Zenados said as it was exciting. Oh, tell me about it. Coldsteel laughed. The body sat up, removing the sheet over itself. Do you recognize me, brother? Coldsteel asked, getting punched in the face sending him flying. Yes, he does, he said as his brother never liked him after what he made him do to fight Goliath. The gargoyle looked at Zenados. This is David Zenados, my servant, Coldsteel said, though Zenados didn't like being called a servant. Play Alongi was your errand boy for months, he muttered. What am I? The gargoyle asked, not really sure what he was feeling. You are Coldstone brought to life, do you remember anything, brother? Coldsteel asked, wondering if he'd get punched again. I remember Goliath, my rookery brother left to fight the Vikings, dawn came then oblivion, Coldstone said as that was all he remembered. He abandoned us to the humans, he left us, it is he who turned me into this, and you into this. Coldsteel said, showing Coldstone his reflection. Coldstone saw he wasn't all gargoyle anymore but something else. No, he shouted before destroying the mirror. With Naruto. Something is wrong, Naruto said as he had a cold sweat. Yeah, you shouldn't eat ramen with that much hot sauce, Alisa said to him as it was a dare she gave him. Fair point, as my tongue feels like it is melting, but not that I sense something magical happening, Naruto said as he sensed that there was an imbalance. Well, we've beaten Coldsteel's magic tricks before, we can beat it again, Alisa said with a confident smile. Yeah, I feel like I could use a nap, Naruto said as he hadn't slept in days. Couch is all yours, Alisa said as she needed some rest too. Naruto drifted off into his mind, soon falling asleep. Flashback. A young Naruto charged at a blue-skinned white-haired gargoyle, that would eventually become Coldstone, who jumped over him. Dang it, he said as he missed him. Don't think with your muscles, little one, you must think if you wish to catch your opponent off guard, the gargoyle said to him. A bronze-skinned female leaned against the wall as she watched. Iago scoffed as he watched. Goliath should have put me in charge of his training while he was away, he'd actually learn how to beat his opponent instead of this ridiculous game of keep away, he said. Yes, we heard about your methods, the female gargoyle said as she glared at him, not even we were exposed to such horrors, it is a miracle his mind is intact, she said angrily, as to put a child in that situation was an even worse crime than when he tried to have her love kill Goliath. To survive you cannot baby the boy, he needs to know how the world truly works, Iago said to them. He is still a child, brother, not even we show such things to hatchlings, the blue gargoyle said. I'm hungry, Naruto said as his stomach growled/roared. Yes, let us eat, little one, the female said as she picked him up with a bright smile. Iago scoffed as he rolled his eyes, walking away. Days later. How goes his training, sister? Demona asked her sister, watching Naruto train with the significant others. He is doing fine, the female said with a fond smile. Come on, show your strength, the blue gargoyle said before letting out a loud grunt. Gee, good job, he said, rubbing his stomach. Careful brother, Goliath said, as Naruto's strength and development were unheard of by both human and gargoyle standards. You know he may actually be your son from how he just punched him, the bronze gargoyle said as Demona just smirked at the praise. Very funny, Goliath said. Naruto had a grin on his face before the blue gargoyle patted his head, making his hair move to his face, making him spit to get hair out of his mouth. You have trained well, young one, the blue one said to him. Iago watched in the distance and scoffed. Later that day. Naruto, perhaps you'd like some real training, Iago said as he stopped Naruto dead in his tracks. Naruto was a little nervous, not knowing what to expect from his uncle as he made him nervous at times. He was a little surprised when he threw a sword at him. You do know how to use that, right? Iago said in an uncaring tone. Naruto to this day had only been using wooden swords to practice, but knowing his uncle, it was better to pick it up now. 20 minutes later. Iago grunted as he got punched in the face. You'd be dead if it were up to me, Demona said as she picked up a wounded Naruto as he had some scrapes on him. You're pathetic, you fight children and still lose, she said, referring to the stab wound Naruto had delivered on his body. That proves how great a warrior he is, just imagine him grown up with the right trainer, Iago said, not even bothered he was stabbed. Let me make this clear, Iago, this is my son. If you ever harm him again, I will end your miserable life, Demona said to him. Ugh, fine sister, Iago said, and just as he was about to get up, his other sister attacked him. I will help her, Iago, you have crossed us both, you will suffer, the bronze gargoyle said to him as she was not short on reasons to kill him. Fine, fine, Iago said as she got off of him. Sometimes I wonder who really babies him more, you or her, he said, brushing dust off of him as both females tended to baby Naruto. We treat him as he is a child, you just want to use him for your own twisted purposes, the bronze gargoyle said, as it was no secret Iago craved power in any form he could get it. Iago waved them off as he walked away. Demona and her sister walked away, intending on bandaging Naruto up. Flashback end. Miss you, uncle, Naruto said, referring to his deceased uncle. You okay? Alisa asked. Just dreaming old dreams, Naruto said, using the phrase Hudson often used. Those happen often? Alisa asked, catching on to what he meant. No one of the advantages to insomnia, less chance of nightmares and memories, Naruto said as he rubbed his head. Later at the clock tower. Hey Alisa, bye Alisa. Brooklyn said as he, Broadway and Lexington left to watch a movie. God, it's cold out there, how do you guys take this? Alisa asked them. Cold does not bother us, Goliath said to her simply. Something is, Naruto thought. I'm no expert, but shouldn't you be wearing more layers, Demona asked as the temperature was 30 degrees. Felt like I had enough, Alisa said as she thought it was much warmer than that. Shouldn't you two be on duty? Goliath asked, looking at his son and Alisa. Guess it is time for a little the old protect and serve, Alisa said as Naruto chuckled as he saw his father perk up, as despite not being a knight himself, his father had a knightly sense of honor. Protect and serve? Goliath asked, perking up. The police motto, Naruto said with a smile as Alisa explained the purposes. Protect whom? Serve how? Goliath asked, eager. The honest citizens we protect and help them whenever we can, Alisa said to him. Maybe I should come too, perhaps I can learn more of this, Goliath said, feeling the urge to actually do something. Yeah, sure, we share the shift with Matt, her car's big, but I think we can hide ya, Naruto said, sarcasm in his voice. I have an idea, Alisa said, seeing Goliath's need to go out. 20 minutes later. Naruto and Alisa looked up as Matt went inside a store where the owner frequently got robbed as they had communication devices in their ears around their necks. Pretty neat, right? I don't even have to talk loud, Alisa said. A wondrous device, Goliath said as he looked, seeing Matt talking to the owner. Why does he keep his store open? He could be robbed again, he asked her. This is a dying neighborhood, the big markets won't even come here. If he closes shop there will be no way for the people around here to get food, Alisa said as it was a nice thing to do. Providing for his community is more important than staying in his castle, Naruto said with a smile. Suddenly Alisa's radio went off as someone said something about a alert in Times Square. Matt! Naruto yelled, getting his attention as Alisa turned on her car's siren. Few minutes later, the trio arrived on the scene. Morgan, what is it? Naruto asked. Don't know, but boy is it mad, the officer said. They moved close and heard something roaring and growling. Freeze! Naruto said. Whatever it was grabbed a red car and prepared to throw it at them until Goliath came down and tackled it. Alisa looked as Goliath got tossed into a bus, leaving an impression. Goliath, what is that thing? Alisa asked as the spotlights came on it to show it was Coldstone. While Matt was back, Naruto had a moment to transform. I can't be. Naruto gasped, seeing the sight of the cyborg, the gargoyle half as the one of his deceased uncle. Rookery brother. You betrayed us. Goldstone growled, holding left arm, firing off a beam of red energy at Goliath. What sorcery is this? The blast struck a nearby building, causing large chunks of debris to fall. Coldstone looked at his new arm in shock before Goliath kicked him away. Father, stop! Naruto shouted, running after them. I know you, from long ago, you are my brother. Goliath uttered in disbelief, seeing Othello in this machine. And you are my betrayer. Coldstone said as tossed his brother away into the wall before firing off several shots, only for Naruto to rush him, slamming him into a nearby building. Uncle, stop this! Naruto shouted. Coldstone looked up and saw his. You, how could you betray us as well? Coldstone said. What? Naruto said as he was blasted by his uncle, knocking him into the wall before grabbing him by his neck. Now you and your father will pay for destroying me and our clan. Coldstone said as his red eye flared, only to be struck by a hubcap. He glared over towards the young gargoyle trio. Put him down, ugly, and I mean now. Broadway shouted. Lexington broke off another cap, allowing Brooklyn to swing it into the cyborg. What is that thing? Brooklyn asked in surprise. It is one of us, or used to be. Goliath said sadly, as this wasn't a fate he'd wish on his worst enemy. More traitors, you will all pay. Coldstone shouted in rage while Cold Steel and Xanatos watched on. Looks like some family drama is about to start. Cold Steel chuckled, looking over at Xanatos. Let's go even out the odds, he said, seeing this as an opportunity. I've been looking forward to a rematch. Xanatos said with a smirk. Why are you attacking us? Goliath shouted in anger, not wanting another betrayal by his family. You betrayed the clan. Destroyed it. Coldstone shouted. We were all betrayed, Goliath said. Too true, Cold Steel said as he, Xanatos and a robot landed on a rooftop. You told him these lies. I lived for my clan. Goliath said, roaring in anger. And they died for you, following that pathetic code of honor which resulted in the very humans you trusted to smash them. Cold Steel said to him. No, they died because you sold them out, you bstrd, Naruto said in anger. Well, if you want to get technical, yeah. But hey, I was always a trickster. But that aside, you played a bigger role in their deaths than I did, leaving them alone and defenseless. Cold Steel said to them. You some. Goliath roared. Let the past die, we have each now forged our own clans, Goliath, now to see which one is truly superior, the old ways or the new. Cold Steel said. You have no clan, you don't know the meaning of the word, Goliath said. Destroy them, brother, once they are gone we will prosper. Cold Steel said, however, he did vow to keep some alive for Xanatos. Looking like this? Coldstone asked. Appearances mean nothing, we are the true gargoyles, we have evolved and become immortal, they are weak and must be purged if we are to survive. Cold Steel said. Coldstone turned and looked at them. There has been enough death, there are so few of us left, my brother, Goliath said to him. Yeesh, when you do your experiments would you mind cutting out his vocal cords? Cold Steel said. I rather like his speeches. Zenado said as they were interesting and poetic in a sense. You didn't have to put up with them for 3 decades. Cold Steel groaned as his brother was a strong reader. Alisa looked back and saw a new van. Goliath, we don't want this on the 11 o'clock news, she said. Zenados, whether you are here or not, I'm sure you can communicate through your robots. I'm sure you do not want to see any more destruction to your city. Let us take this someplace less fragile, Goliath said. Agreed, Zenados said, sending a glare at Cold Steel. Few minutes later. Training time's over, nephew, Coldstone said to him. Yeah, Naruto said, preparing himself. This is the real thing, he said as he took out his sword before stabbing it into the ground of the bridge top they were standing on. I don't want to hurt you, he said. You already have, Coldstone said as he blasted at him and Goliath. I'm gonna rip you apart, Iago apart, Demona said to her brother. I know, you're mad I brought our BLD brother back, Cold Steel said. Cold Steel then groaned as Brooklyn tackled him. Oh please, for a simpleton like you, Cold Steel said as he was not at all threatened. Lexington had a smirk on his face as he was diving through the air with the robot behind him before he put his arms out, slowing while the robot crashed into the bridge. They always fall for that, he said before he looked and saw Zenados going after Broadway. Broadway was able to dodge the blasts, but Zenados then shot the cables on the bridge, which then wrapped around Broadway, trapping him. Cold Steel fired off several blasts towards Demona and Brooklyn, who managed to avoid them. They hung onto the bridge as the mad gargoyle came in close with his blaster, only for his sister to tackle into him. We finished this once and for all, Demona shouted. I couldn't agree more, Cold Steel shouted as they fell to the ground, Demona snatching up the blaster before firing off several blasts at Cold Steel, who was shooting off his own. Brooklyn soon jumped onto Cold Steel's back, putting him in chokehold. No spells to save you now, he growled. Ha! Don't need them, Cold Steel shouted, flying off before diving down towards Demona, who was trying to take aim without hurting Brooklyn. Brooklyn, move, Demona shouted as Brooklyn jumped off Cold Steel, who smirked as he quickly evaded the blast, causing it to hit Brooklyn. Nice shot, Cold Steel chuckled as Demona growled, holding before firing at him. Right in the pie hole now, nothing's gonna taste right for days, he said. Lexington tackled Zenados down when he tried to fire at the trapped Broadway. Zenados groaned as his suit was malfunctioning, causing him to take off the helmet, showing his face as steam came out. Everyone then looked up, hearing Coldstone roar as he tackled Goliath and Naruto down into the frozen river below them. No, Broadway said. Well, now this fortunate, I can retrieve Goliath's corpse from the ocean depth once I'm finished with all of you. Cold Steel laughed, ready to fire on his former clan. Suddenly Coldstone came out of the water holding Naruto and Goliath on his shoulders. Are they? Demona asked, looking at them unmoving. They live, he said as he dropped them. Good job, brother, now I can finish them all together, Cold Steel said with a maniacal laugh. No, you said that destroying our brother was the only way we could survive. But is that all there really is to us surviving? Is purging the weak the right way? Coldstone asked. What does it matter? If we survive, we can grow, evolve and gain more power than we ever could before. What could be greater than that? Cold Steel said with a smirk. No, Gargoyles, protected is our nature, our purpose. To lose that is to become empty, corrupt, lifeless, just like you, Iago. Goliath said. And what do you protect? Coldstone asked. Oh, just shut up and die already, Cold Steel said, rolling his eyes before taking the shot. No, Coldstone said, stepping in front of the blast. I'm gonna kill you, Naruto said as he coughed up water and blasted Cold Steel with a magic blast, surprising not only everyone but Naruto himself. We'll have to settle things later, enjoy your victory. Cold Steel holding his injuries as he and Zenados took off into the night. Alisa came running along with Hudson and Bronx. We came as fast as he could. What happened to the monster? She asked. Naruto held Coldstone's body. He was no monster, he was family, he said with a few tears coming down his face before he leaned back as he felt the body move slightly. Look, Lexington said as he saw Coldstone's finger twitching, maybe I can fix him after all, he is part machine, he said as it was a bit of a stretch. Try, Naruto said as he picked Coldstone's body up, I lost you once uncle, I won't lose you again, he said as they flew. Goliath, I heard you say to Coldstone that gargoyles protect, Lexington said. Like we breath boy, Hudson said as it was a saying that a gargoyle can no stop protecting the castle than breathing the air. But what is that we must protect now? Demona asked. The clock tower. Hudson said to them. Nope, this is just like the old castle. Nothing but stones and metal. Naruto said, crossing his arms as he looked off to the horizon. He's right, this island, Manhattan, this is our castle. We stay forward and protect all who live here, human and gargoyle alike. Goliath said. So same old same old. Shikaku laughed as Matatabi swiped him across the face. Shut it up. Matatabi said. Is there anything you need, Naruto? Alisa said. Yeah, a detective. Naruto smirked as they all laughed. Few hours later. We see the very same thief that robbed the store owner earlier, but this time he brings a sack full of money as the gargoyles threatened him to return the money and turn himself in. Alisa's apartment. Alisa had to admit she was feeling better and better every day. She had to admit her improved muscles was something she wasn't aware of till Naruto mentioned it, but she thought it was due to the training and running around she was always doing. With her new friends, ah man the sun, she thought as she wanted to rest as she was always on the night shift. 10 hours later. Alisa's eyes closed the moment she opened them, feeling the sun on them, and saw it was 4 o'clock. At 2 more hours till sunset, she thought, lying there for a few more minutes before getting out of bed, stretching, and felt a new wave of comfort wash over her. I don't know about you Kagni, but I feel so much yummier, she said, petting her cat as she tiptoed to her bathroom and hopped in the shower. I don't remember you babies being this big, she said as she looked down at her melons, feeling they were much larger than normal, and her muscles, while not bulging, were definitely both flattering to her figure. Alisa soon got out and was drying herself before looking herself in the mirror. I see something got bigger too, she said, looking at her peach, she said as she checked herself, wondering how her muscles looked so defined and how she jumped a cup size, now a EE cup-sized rack, and how her already thick peach became bigger and thicker, but a thought came to her and wondered how Naruto would see these changes. With a body like this, I hope he doesn't faint, she said with a smile as she blew a kiss to her reflection, thinking she looked very CC, and struck a few poses, not something she'd normally do, but with Naruto things felt different than with the other guys she tried dating. She got out of the bathroom heading to get her clothes. I don't know what happened Kagni, but it feels like someone's really lighting my fire, she said, never wanting to stop this feeling. She placed her hands sliding down to her hips as she bends over, feeling the leather of her pants riding up her peach. She looked at her normal red jacket before shaking her head. Numi needs a new jacket, she said as it was even tighter with her new improvements. Few hours later. Hey Captain, Naruto said, walking inside. Hey Wyvern, Maria said as she greeted her newest rising star. Have you seen Alisa? He asked. I have dash. Before she could finish her sentence, she noticed the other officers were looking at something. Naruto turned around and felt his tongue tie as he saw Alisa. Alisa walked in wearing black leather pants, a new black jacket, and a navy blue dress shirt with a little sway in her hips as everyone looked at her. Alisa? You look well, Naruto said, trying his hardest not to stare, and was failing. I feel great, greater than I have in a long time, Alisa said as she approached him with a confident look in her eyes. I want to ask you something. You want to go on a date? She asked confidently. Naruto could only nod as she smiled, lacing a finger under his chin before walking off. About time, but wow, Maria said as even she was impressed by Alisa's actions and display. Congrats Wyvern, Matt said as he collected some money from everyone in the pool and handed Maria some money as she and him profited most, and Naruto gave them a look and they forked over a cut of their winnings. Naruto smiled as he was excited for this date, but stopped and looked up at the clock tower. An hour till sunset, and dreaded his mother finding out, knowing her she would tease him about it as with the trio. 2 hours later. If you can help it, try not to jump her as I'm in no rush to have grandchildren, Demona said as she looked at a blushing Naruto. Just like I'm in no rush to have younger siblings, Naruto said as he was not a blind man. Touché, Demona said as she had to concede to that notion. You say she's changed? Goliath asked. Yeah, wearing a new outfit, more muscular among other things, she didn't even hesitate to ask me out. It's like she's become a new Alisa, Naruto said as it was both alluring and impressive. Demona was a little curious, so while the trio teased Naruto she took off to inspect Alisa. You don't think your BLD did anything to her, do you lad? Hudson asked curiously. Probably, but I wasn't expecting that. Maybe some yellow and red in her hair maybe, Naruto said to him as they were magic and Alisa could have been affected by his BLD. He wondered why it took so long for any changes to occur if that was the case. Well, try not to have too much fun on your date, we don't want to become uncles just yet, Brooklyn said teasingly. With Demona. You can come out, you know, Alisa said in her kitchen as she didn't need to look behind her. Now that is odd, Demona thought, as a rare few ever knew of her presence. When she hit her son among that list it was impressive and a bit concerning. Come to say hi, or are you hungry? Alisa said to her. I'm a bit concerned, Demona said, not seeing anything out of the ordinary with her despite her physical changes. Maybe it's not Naruto's BLD, she thought as she knew there were genetics involved and Naruto was human when he gave her the BLD, and in her vast experience she didn't expect anything. Concerned with what? I feel perfect, Alisa said. Demona wasn't sure who she should be concerned for, Alisa or her son. Alisa just smiled, ignoring Demona, who just gawked and stared at her. Are you here to just chat? I have to get ready for my date, she said to her simply. Demona saw the cat looking at her as if saying what she was thinking. Have fun, she said, and saw that she had her badge/shield on the table and picked it up and tossed it to her back, and to her surprise Alisa spun and caught it. Thanks, Alisa said, walking out. Demona stood there for a few minutes and soon left, her thoughts failing her. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.